I5 Converses, Inverses, and Contrapositives. Okay, these are, in my opinion, pretty fun, pretty cool and stuff, but you are going to need to know them. I have seen them on ACTs also, so it's a pretty good lesson. So what it is, when you have a conditional, when you have an if-then statement, the original conditional, the if is considered the P, and the then is considered the Q. So, you know, if you've ever heard the saying, get your P's and Q's together, it means, you know, kind of get your affairs in order. But the P is the if and the Q is the then. Okay. But when we move the Q's and the P's around, or we negate the P's and the Q's, then it makes a totally different statement. But before we start evaluating the new statements, we need to figure out how to make the new statements. Okay, so here is your original conditional, if P then Q. If it tells you to do a converse, what it's saying is, if Q was after the then, we are now replacing it after the if. Your then becomes the if, and your if becomes the then. Okay? So we're just switching the if and the then. An inverse, the if and then stays in the same spot, but we negate it. We make it opposite. I'll make that clearer in just a little bit. And then the contrapositive, we're going to both do the converse and the inverse, switch the P and the Q, and negate it, and make it opposite, okay? So let's see what's going on here. Give me just a second. Con, Q, P. Okay. Alright. Oopsie. Scroll up. Okay. If Marvin is shopping for butterscotch sauce, then he is not at a farmer's market. Don't read too much into the statement. Don't say, well, that's just stupid, or that's wrong, or whatever. The conditional is pretty much true no matter what in this lesson, okay? So don't really internalize it. What's the hypothesis right now? Marvin is shopping for butterscotch, okay? What's the conclusion? He is not at a farmer's market. What's the question? Converse. So if you look back up here, converse is when you put the then with the if and the if with the then, okay? So what they're wanting us to do is pretty much switch these. If he's not at a farmer's market, then he is shopping for butterscotch sauce. If Marvin is at a farmer's market, then he is not shopping for butterscotch sauce. So that's going to be your answer. Okay. Contrapositive. Here's your if. Here's your then. If Dustin is not near Perry Street, then he is not at home. A contrapositive switches the P and the Q and negates the P and the Q. So if this is your P and this is your Q, if your original statement says he's not at home, then our original statement is he is at home. Then he is near Perry Street. Okay? If Dustin is at home, then he is near Perry Street. You take out the nots because that's what this means, is to make it opposite. So if the original one, he's not doing something, then the new one is he is doing something. Okay? Inverse. We leave the P and the Q in the original position, but we negate them. So here is your original hypothesis. If Diane does not need purple and red colored markers is going to be still in the if spot, but if she does not need them originally, she is going to need them for the inverse. Then she is not taking notes, so she is taking notes. Okay, now we're going to figure out which one it is ourselves. Look at the following conditionals. If Nick is not ordering a pizza, that's your original P, that's your Q. Then he does not have barbecue chicken. If Nick is ordering pizza, so the P stayed here, but it ends up being a negated P because at the original he was not ordering. This one he is ordering, and this is original Q. Which one of those does that? The inverse does that. If Dakota is going to a movie, that's your original P. She is not bringing her book of quotations. All right. Then that's your Q. Is bringing, is not bringing. So the Q moved, but the original one she's not, and this one she is. So that's a Q. She is not going to the movie. That's a P, but it's a not P. When everything switches and everything negates, then it's contrapositive. Okay. Is the converse of the following conditional true? So first we have to figure out what the converse is. And the converse is if P is smaller than R, I'll move that there and then move this here, then R is smaller than 2. Okay? That's what a converse is. You just rearrange it like that. So every number bigger than 3, every number smaller than 3 is smaller than 2. That's going to be no, because is 2.5 smaller than 3? Yes, but 2.5 is not smaller than 2. Okay, so you kind of have to think out of the box on these things. Is the inverse, so we need to do inverse. So remember on the negated parts of these, well, let me just say inverse first. So we're going to do not P, then not Q. So remember the negation, I think it was I4 we did negations. So what's the negation of this? The M and the 3 stay, but we're going to switch the arrow because the first one was was less than or equal. So what's not less than and not equal? Greater than. So here's the if. then, here's our M and here's our 3. What's the negation of less than? If it's not less than, it could be greater than or equal to it. So every number bigger than 3 is bigger than or equal to 3. This one is a yes, because every number bigger than 3 is going to be bigger than 3. I know it says or equal to, but this one didn't even have a possibility of being equal to, so we didn't have to worry about this right here. Is the contrapositive of the following conditional. Here's our P and here's our Q. Contrapositive is not Q, then not P. Okay, so if N is less than or equal to 9, then N is greater than or equal to 7. Pretty much, let me just tell you, if these are going in opposite directions, it's going to be a no.